Iran has now officially rejected a 45-day ceasefire deal proposed by the United States and other regional mediators, Gulf countries who would like to see an end to the war. Other Gulf countries, I should note, would like the war to continue until Iran is destroyed. Now, Iran wants a permanent end to the war instead of a 45-day ceasefire, and I think that's the right take when it comes to US and Israeli aggression. But before I give you the details on what the ceasefire deal contained and more, Cenk, what do you think?
I'm stunned by how little people in politics, media, and Wall Street know. They think that this ceasefire might happen. There is no chance that this ceasefire is gonna happen. Wait till you hear the actual details of what Iran is saying. No, guys, things are about to get way, way worse, and we'll explain why.
Exactly. Now, the temporary ceasefire was basically designed to put a pause on the fighting in order to open the Strait of Hormuz while peace negotiations are taking place. Does that sound familiar? It kind of reminds me of what happened in Gaza with Hamas. Now, Israel has failed to live up to and abide by literally every ceasefire agreement they've signed, including in Lebanon, when a ceasefire was agreed upon with Hezbollah. Israel continued bombing Lebanon. They carried out more than 1,000 strikes during the ceasefire period. Now, according to the Wall Street Journal, Iranian mediators, however, are very concerned that if they were to agree on a pause in fighting, the United States and Israel would use that temporary ceasefire as a smokescreen to prepare for yet another attack on Iran. Now, remember, right now, both Israel and the United States are kind of in a tough spot because they have depleted missile interceptors. As a result, far more of Iran's missiles are now getting through the Iron Dome in Israel, and they're causing some very real damage. Just recently, a building collapsed as a result of an Iranian strike, and there were some reports about how the society in Israel was concerned that there were bodies trapped under the rubble, which sounds a lot like what Israelis did to Palestinians and continue to do to Palestinians in Gaza. But an anonymous source told Reuters that the effort to put together a ceasefire deal was frantic. Here's what they write. Pakistan's army chief, Field Marshal Asim Munir, was in contact all night long with US Vice President JD Vance, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. But Iran shut down the notion of a temporary ceasefire, emphasizing the necessity of a permanent end to the war. The official IRNA news agency, state media in Iran, said on Monday. So the Iranian response consisted of 10 clauses. So they have their own asks, including an end to the conflicts in the region, permanent end, a protocol for safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz, lifting of sanctions, economic sanctions that have been crushing the Iranians. In addition to reconstruction, they want reparations for the damage caused to Iran as a result of this war. And meanwhile, President Donald Trump is now claiming that the US is basically negotiating with the third Iranian regime. By the way, anything that comes out of Trump's mouth should be taken with a massive grain of salt. But with that in mind, take a look.
We went in for a very simple reason, and not regime change, but we got regime change. This is a whole different regime. This is a different group of people. They're more moderate, they're smarter, much smarter. And we blew up one regime, and we blew up another regime, and now we're dealing with a third, and it is more moderate, it's better. But we didn't do it for that. It seems to be a byproduct. We did it for a simple reason. You know what that is? No nuclear weapon.
You did it for your masters, good job. Now here's what Trump had to say about Iran's desire for a permanent end to the war, a deal that would end the war once and for all.
They've made a proposal, and it's a significant proposal. It's a significant step. It's not good enough, but it's a very significant step. They have made, they're negotiating now, and they've made a very significant step. We'll see what happens.
So we've got some more highlights from Trump's statements earlier today, Cenk. But before we get to them, I just want you to comment on what you heard so far.
So look, it's not a grain of salt. You need to take everything Trump says with a boulder of salt. So what he does is every once in a while he'll bluff and he'll say, I'm gonna destroy everything they have. and you have a strict deadline. And he's so dumb because he's done this 100 times and the Iranians already know it. So then he'll send Barak Ravid to put out an article in Axios saying, oh no, we meant that negotiations are going great. It's totally not, none of it is true.
None of it.
Iran is like, what negotiations are you talking about, right? So now, why is a ceasefire near impossible at this point? Because you heard Anna tell you Iran's demands. We're gonna lift the sanctions and we're going to give them reparations and we're going to guarantee that we never attack again. And how would we do that? Remove our bases from the Gulf. None of this is going to happen, okay? And we have to guarantee that Israel stops attacking Lebanon and all of their neighbors. All of these are impossibilities from Iran, like that's Iran's ass. Now our ass. Our ass are open up the Strait of Hormuz right away. We won't give you a permanent peace. We'll only give you a 45-day ceasefire while we reload. And we want all of your uranium, which is the theoretical point of the war. So both sides are asking for the moon. Totally outrageous asks that aren't even anywhere near close to what would be a deal.
Yeah.
Right? So we're a million miles apart. And part of the reason why people don't understand how deep this war is going to go and how buried we are in this war is because the media keeps reporting what Trump and Israel are saying as if they might be true. That they're not close to true. Look at the actual details. When you look at the details, you realize, oh, no chance we're gonna get to a ceasefire. Now I'm gonna tell you about someone that is a partner of ours that our audience loves. If you know me, I'm always out of time. When I need a fresh meal that's delicious and nutritious, my go-to is Cook Unity. Cook Unity is a chef-crafted meal straight to your door. I recently tried jerk chicken rasta pasta in my last order. Why did I pick that one? Because the name sounded fun. And it turned out it was delicious. That
sounds fun.
So it's high protein, it gave me the energy I needed to finish the day strong, and I like to finish the day strong. These aren't boring, repetitive meals, I've done a lot of them. These are all-star chefs, Food Network alums, and James Beard winners, which I found out is a good thing. Almost like James Beard, no, I'm just kidding. You're handpicking seasonal ingredients and balancing bold flavors with nutrition, which I need. There are over 25 diets and cuisines to choose from to satisfy your cravings and wellness goals. Commitment-free subscription starts as low as $11 a meal. That's like half a sandwich in LA, and you get a delicious award-winning meal. So skip deliveries, pause, or cancel anytime. Taste craftsmanship in every bite from the award-winning chefs behind Cook Unity. Go to cookunity.com/TYT or enter code TYT before checkout to get 50% off your first order. That's 50% off your first order by using code TYT or going to cookunity.com/TYT.
You also have to keep in mind there are different objectives when it comes to the US and for Iran. For Iran, they see this war as a war for their own survival. And they have calculated that, it makes sense for them to take the hits. And don't make any mistake about it, Iran has taken devastating hits from the United States and Israel. But they're willing to do that and basically run out the clock because they know that the United States has depleted its interceptors. And they also know that, well, there are some reports indicating that Iran's salvo of bombings were, basically the missiles used for those bombings were like the older missiles, and that they're kind of holding back with their more sophisticated arsenal. So that's not a good sign for Israel as more and more of Iran's missiles start to go through the Iron Dome. And the other thing that I'll just note, and I wanna go to video C4 here, is that Iran has a lot more leverage than Trump was willing to admit going into this war when he was a useful idiot for the Israelis and was persuaded that this would be a quick and easy regime change war. Obviously it hasn't been, and now it seems that in his moments of clarity, Trump has come to terms with the fact that, yeah, Iran actually does hold some cards. Take a look.
Are you willing to make a deal that does not include reopening the Strait of Hormuz, or is that now a top priority?
I would say it's a very big priority because, see, that's one thing that's a little different than other things. We can bomb the hell out of them, we can knock them out for a loop. But to close the strait, all you need is one terrorist that somehow has a truck loaded with, because you can carry them in trucks, large trucks, a water mine, drop them in the water, and now you tell people that own ships that cost $1 billion to don't worry about the mine. You can do that even just by saying we put mines in the water. We've knocked out their Navy. We've knocked out their Air Force completely. We've knocked out 158 ships in 3 days. We've knocked out even their mine droppers. They don't have any mine droppers anymore, but they put them on other boats, and they could drop them.
I mean, considering the fact that Trump genuinely seems to believe that the US and Israel have destroyed Iran's military capabilities, it's strange that you keep hearing about missiles getting through and hitting Israel.
He's so inconsistent because he's a child. And so he can't, whatever's in the top of his mind, he says it. He does the bluster and then he accidentally tells you the truth. So he says at one point, as you just saw there, we destroyed all their mine droppers. But earlier he said, well, there's nothing we could do about the trucks they bring in to drop the mine. So which one is it? You just saw it with your own eyes. You can go back and rewind the tape, right? So what he's doing here is accidentally admitting, yeah, they have massive leverage. We cannot stop them from mining the Strait of Hormuz. And all the things that he explained about how Iran could block the strait and is now blocking the strait, we knew before the war. But apparently either Trump didn't know it or his Israel First advisors told him, oh, don't worry about it. It'll be easy, Donald, and you'll be a hero and they'll surrender right away. And as we showed you earlier in the show, he really thought that they were gonna surrender right away.
He absolutely did. In fact, just last week, the New York Times came out with a report indicating that the head of Mossad, David Barnea, had basically been the one who persuaded Trump that this would be an easy war to topple the Iranian regime. Didn't work out that way, did it?
Yeah, of course, as usual, Israel screwed us. And they lied. It's just same exact way in Iraq. Fake weapons of mass destruction, intelligence. Oh God, America, we have such important intelligence for you. It'll get you to attack our #1 enemy at the time, right? So now, look, Iran is using, I've also seen reports, and this one I'm not as sure about, that they use decoys to get rid of our interceptors and Israel's interceptors?
Oh, they definitely did. There was evidence of that. So for instance, one of the things that they did is they used basically a massive balloon that looked like a tank. And the US was like using its missiles to strike these massive inflated fake tanks and things like that. So
guys, look, our military has incredible capability, and the rescue of the 2 guys who got shot down in Iran was amazing and fantastic. But the problem isn't the military, the problem is the leaders, right? So the Iranian leaders thought through these things, and our leaders, Hegseth and Trump, are like 2 of the dumbest people in the country and didn't think through anything and believed everything that Israel told them. Like, this is not new military strategy. The Turks used it in the 1970s to conquer Cyprus. They dropped decoys first, you see where the Greeks are firing from, and then you bomb the places where the firing is coming from. So this is, and in the case of the interceptor missiles, it's obvious logic that you use as many decoys as you can to get us to waste our interceptors. They thought that through, but our leadership didn't think it through, and that's part of the reason why we're in this mess.
The final piece of this puzzle, of course, has to do with Israel and what Israel wants, because of course, Israel's desires reign supreme. It's more important than what the United States wants, obviously more important than what Iran or the globe wants. And so in regard to, Israeli insider Barak Ravid's reporting over at Axios, he claims that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned Trump against a ceasefire deal. An Israeli official told Axios.
Yeah, of course, he doesn't want a ceasefire. He wants to dig in. He wants America to send in ground troops. I mean, he can't use his own ground troops. They're busy invading Lebanon. God forbid he should fight the war that he started, or Israel should ever fight a war they've started. But one last thing, guys, as we dig deeper into the war, exactly as Netanyahu wants, gas prices across the world have risen from 16 in some countries, 16%, to 90% in some countries. So economic global disaster is headed our way as Israel celebrates and thinks, perfect, we're getting mired in this muck, the whole world is, and now they're also gonna need our gas field in Leviathan, and that's why they're happy to bomb those power plants, which is they're another perceived win for them. So the whole world melts down, but Israel is ecstatic about how things are going.
every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.